This is Irene, aka Irene Draws, talking about some art tips for comics today. I'm going to talk about some inking techniques that I use often for my comic pages, specifically for doing textures and gradations and other effects such as that with just black and white inks by hand. So everyone, what I will be demonstrating today, here are some examples from some pages that I'm currently working on. Let's see. So some of these techniques are use brush. I use pen a lot. Like, as you can see, here's a page that I'm currently working on. Like, most of my I like really clean line work. Like, I tend to do very tight, probably overly detailed line work, but I use mostly markers like these, or microns. I have some microns somewhere, delete or pen, doesn't really matter what brand, but I tend to like these Unipin markers that are from Mitsubishi, I think. These. But yeah, anyways, just like microns or Pitt pens. But I also like to combine some brush strokes for effects and stuff. So I will be showing everyone that today, like what I did on the water. As well as some hatching techniques. There you go, hatching. That's the word I was looking for. And basically what these hacking techniques do is sort of mimics, I think, the look that some screen tones give. Like, a lot of mostly manga artists will use certain screen tones to like do shading and stuff. But I don't really use screen tones. I've done like shaded comics before. Like, you add a gray shaded layer in Photoshop. But like for this comic, for my recent work, I've been like avoiding all that. I've been going pure ink. So anyways, like I like to experiment with hatching techniques and how to shade with just black and white a lot. So this is one example of that, like how, you see I try to gradate the black all the way to like through the light parts. And another example is here, a slightly different kind of, wait, the camera is not centered. Slightly different kind of hatching, like that's all like little hatch marks on the leaves back there. So that's another technique. So I guess let's start out with the easier one, I guess. Let's do the straight line hatchy one. So the first one, which is what you saw on like the soldiers' clothes and stuff, it kind of depends on like what texture, or you have to keep in mind what the texture of the object you're drawing is. So I guess I'll just talk about this at the same time. If the object you're drawing is very smooth or very angled, like rock or something, like it feels solid, you can use really straight hatch lines like this. So it's pretty easy. I tend to start with the dark spots. Dark spots. Let's speak correctly today, Irene. So, okay, so what would I usually do? I would usually actually spot some like pretty solid blacks towards like the opposite end of wherever the light is coming from. So for example, okay, the light is coming from this side for this entire demo. I would spot some blacks towards here. And then I would just kind of gradate all my marks, but stagger them a little bit so they don't line up. Like, you don't want, oh wait, I don't want to use another piece of paper. Okay, whatever. You don't want them to like all look like that. That's boring. You want it to have, like, it's just like sketching with pencil, actually. You want them to follow a certain line. Like, if your object is round like this, you want them to kind of go like this. We want to stagger them a little bit because that adds interest. And nothing is like completely smooth and perfect in real life. Well, I mean, I guess if you're doing like hair, you do it like, this is how I shade hair, by the way. For a rough example. It's the same way, I use the same kind of marks, but hair is, depending on how curly it is, but like, see, that's hair. That's how I do hair. But for doing gray objects with just black and white ink, I would do this, and you kind of stagger your marks a little bit, and just open the distance between your marks as you get towards the lighter side. So something like that. So yeah, that's a mess, but hopefully that, you know, made a little sense to you. Yeah, so that basically mimics what a lot of screen tone does. And I like to do it by hand because I feel like I have more control, because by screen tone, like, I feel like it honestly takes long. I've tried screen tones before, but like if you want to do any fading effects like that grading, because screen tones come like basically it's all just one full sheet of a flat, I don't know why I'm like drawing this and trying to like demonstrate, but it's just one like flat, you know, image. And if you want to make it darker, you have to layer it. If you want to do a gradation, you have to like scratch it off. Like, I'd rather just draw it by hand. I feel like I have more control that way. So I actually really enjoy drawing textures by hand. So basically what I'm doing is mimicking what, you know, screen tone sheets would do, but with hand-drawn marks. And I feel like I have more versatility that way. Which, speaking of, going on to the next texture that I just showed you guys, the another mark that I use a lot is this, which you saw in the leaves. These right here. This is what I'm talking about. So I would use these, like, this is a slightly curved mark. I don't know if you can, wait, let me do some more of it. It's shorter curved marks, sort of like that. And this is useful for if you want something to look softer, if you want to shade, well, you know, leaves like you just saw, or clothing that you want to feel that is soft, or, you know, anything that, like, the straight lines make it feel like a very solid object. So, like, if you want to do anything curved like that, like short curved lines, that adds a nice soft feeling to whatever you're drawing. So I like to use this when it applies a lot, and I like to use this on clothing a lot, actually. So that's easy. It's basically the same principle. You just start out. I actually start out with like a thicker pen. This is like an 08. It's like a really thick pen. And then I'll switch to something thinner. Here, this is an 03. And I sort of taper it out. What I find is very useful for these marks is, what is very useful for these marks? If I'm drawing somebody with very curly hair, I tend to use this kind of marks to shade it. It's basically the same principle as the straight lines demonstration, but it's a little curlier. So I use both of these a lot. It's pretty simple. And I don't know, I enjoy being able to kind of just like black out a little bit and, you know, just texture. When you fill in blacks, you don't want, like, okay, this is sidetracking, but when you're filling in spotting blacks for comics, you kind of don't want everything to be just a flat shade. Like, that's kind of boring. It's nice to break it up a little bit. Have, like, some open space. See the strokes there. It adds character to your drawing. I don't know why I went on this tangent, but anyways. I'm just thinking of when mark making, you know, when it gets really dense, like, you don't want your spotted blacks to feel like it's just, there's nothing there and it's like super dark. Okay, anyways, that was stupid. So the last thing I was going to demonstrate is this. I showed you before. I really like using either just like a brush that's dry and lightly dipped in ink, or an almost dry, what do you call it? Brush pen? Yeah, of course, brush pen. So it's funny, I keep like a bunch of almost dry brush pens with me just because I like the effect that they give. But it's because they have this wonderful effect. And I really like it. Let's see, is this the one? Let me test it a little bit. No, that's the one that's completely dry. Okay. So this works if you have a brush pen that's almost dry, or just like a really lightly dipped brush. Keep the brush dry. Don't like dip it in water or anything. Just put a little ink on it and rub it on a little paper first. So, you know, the thick like blobs of ink come off. So all that you get, like here, I'm gonna like spread the bristles, but you want the bristles to be spread and flat like that. And the effect you'll get is really wonderful. I love it. It's kind of like that. And that's when you want something to look really soft and really flowy. So that's why I use it on water, or, you know, clothes that I want to feel are silky. I don't really use it on hair because hair does have strands, so I stick with this kind of marks for, you know, dark hair when I'm drawing that. But this is really wonderful. And when you're doing, smoke, it's really nice for, basically the suggestion I'm giving is like keeping a bunch of like half-dried brush pens with you. But this is really nice for drawing smoke or atmospheric things. If you spray out your brush enough, like you can gradate it a little bit. And that's the effect I like to use a lot. And it's especially nice to use when you combine it with really clean line work. It adds a little sense of, this is like a very raw sort of mark. It's very natural, so it's nice to use like I don't know, more natural scenes like in the forest or something that's really raw. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'll probably cut this part out. But anyways, so that's the other mark making technique that I use a lot. So the key is applying some pressure and making sure your bristles are sprayed out. This paper is a little rough, but depending on your paper and what kind of bristle you have on your brush, it'll show up as like a gradation effect, even though really it's just pure black and white. And you won't have to use screen tones, you won't have to, you know, shade it in Photoshop. Like, this is stuff that you can all do with just plain pure ink. So hopefully that was helpful to y'all. This really messy sheet of paper, these are all the, you know, different inking techniques that I have just talked about. There's straight line hatching, curve line hatching, and I guess brush hatching, or gradating with like a dry brush. So hopefully this was helpful to all of you guys. If you would like to see more of my work, visit reeniedraws.com, which is my main website, or you can follow me on Tumblr at reeniedraws, or Twitter at reeniedraws, or Instagram, all at reeniedraws. And don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe to my channel for more videos about art. Usually at least once a month I'll post process videos or just simple tips about drawing and how to use drawing programs. So let me know in the comments if this video was helpful to you, or if you have any suggestions for what topics I can do next. If you have any requests, I will take it into consideration. Thank you for watching, and until next time, bye!